Here's what's coming today on the Woodworking Network podcast.
You can make it functional all day, but if you ain't making it pretty, we're not going to buy it.
Welcome to the fourth season of the Woodworking Network podcast and a new episode. Join us as we explore the business of woodworking, big and small, and what it takes to succeed. I'm Will Sampson. Today's episode is sponsored by the Executive Briefing Conference. Today our guest is Knikki Grantham, Creative Director for the prestige hardware brand Bellwith Keeler. She has some interesting things to say about trends in decorative hardware. But before I get to that, I want to talk about, is it hardware or bling? Decorative cabinet hardware is an interesting product. It's called decorative because it adds an embellishing aspect to the cabinets. But at the same time, it must actually be functional. Knobs and pulls need to work as well as be beautiful. But that functionality is relatively easy to accomplish, so that offers a big sandbox for designers to play in. They can experiment with materials, colors, looks, and finishes in so many ways, it's probably impossible to run out of ideas. There are the basics, of course, like metal finishes in silver, gold, black, and bronze, but that's just the beginning. Shapes can be out of this world, from traditional or reproduction pulls to modern and contemporary styles. Everything from angular to swoopy and textures from rough to polished. I've even seen plastic pulls shaped like dinosaurs intended for a child's room. We still haven't decided on the knobs and pulls for the kitchen in my house in the middle of the Maine woods, but we've been toying with pulls that look like twigs, acorns, leaves, river stones, and other natural-inspired themes. They look great by themselves, but will those be too much on every door and drawer in the kitchen? Going in the opposite direction, the hot trend in Euro kitchens is eliminating all the visible hardware for a smooth and seamless look across the front of the cabinets. I'm thinking of all those choices while recognizing that many custom cabinet shops don't want to have anything to do with this. They let the homeowners pick the pulls and just charge to install them. Are they missing out on profits or avoiding a huge hassle dealing with the homeowner's decision-making process? I'm not a designer or an architect, so I don't have any formal design training to tell me how important decorative hardware is to the look of a completed cabinet project. Of course, I do have a visceral reaction when I see hardware on cabinets that I think is really ugly or uncomfortable to use or too over the top for my tastes. Everybody can be a critic. And no one can discount the power of trends to shape these decisions. If tomorrow some internet influencer starts a fad for purple metallic hardware, every shop will start getting calls. And after a while, when that look gets old, the homeowners will be looking to replace them with all new hardware that's in the new flavor of the day. Maybe part of the reason so many custom shops don't try to make money on decorative hardware and leave these decisions to the customers is because it's just so tedious to try to help their customers keep up with the trends. Let the designers who love the excitement of trend setting try to surf that wave. Meanwhile, I still don't know what to put on my kitchen doors and drawers. I want to get to our interview with Knikki Grantham, but first, let's pause for a word from our sponsor. It's really easy for woodworkers to stay stuck inside, focused on their shops and production. But over the last couple of years, the pandemic has forced them to be even more isolated than usual. And it's even harder if what you want is to network with the top-level executives in the industry. Where and how can you do that? The answer is the Executive Briefing Conference coming this September at the spectacular Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. This is an unparalleled opportunity to boost your business with intelligence on techniques, tools, and technology, and to feed on inspiration from real leaders in the industry. Not to mention take in all the high-altitude hospitality, beauty, and recreation offered by the Broadmoor. Learn more at executivebriefingconference.com. See you there. Now let's get to our interview with Knikki Grantham. Today, our guest is Knikki Grantham, Creative Director for the prestige hardware brand Bellwith Keeler. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast, Knikki.
Well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here live from my kitchen.
An appropriate place to talk about
Exactly.
kitchen hardware.
Exactly. I just received my package of replacement hardware. So that's the downfall of working for a cabinet hardware company is you change your hardware a lot.
Well, before we get into your role at the company, I want to talk a little bit about Bellwith Keeler's long history. This year marks 130 years for the company,
130
doesn't it?
years. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a lot of them like us in the business. So it's something we are certainly proud of to have our place in history. The other thing I think we're super proud of is that we've kept the archives alive for all these years as well. So many companies, when they change hands or go through changes over the years, they kind of lose sight of who they were and holding on to those things. And we've got that library in Granville of all of these masters and pencil drawings, engineered specs, and it's truly incredible to see it.
Oh, that does sound incredible. Well, and it isn't just cabinet hardware that Bellwith Keeler has done over the years. I mean, even they participated in the war effort and doing stuff like that.
Absolutely. Car
It's
parts, boat parts, machine gun parts, furniture parts, a stove and refrigeration, back before it was so mainstream. It's amazing to see everything that we kind of had our hands in over the years. So
yeah, yeah. Well, we frequently classify hardware as either functional or decorative, functional being things like, drawer slides and hinges and such. Decorative hardware, usually the description for things like knobs and pulls. But really, doesn't all good hardware have to be functional? It has to work as well as it looks pretty.
100%. 100%. The company itself, John Valeris is our owner, and he is an engineer by nature. And so he's always in tune with the functionality of the parts and innovation and things like that. And it's you kind of say, well, how are you innovative when it comes to a piece of metal? But there's so many things you can be innovative with when it comes to how the tool is made and the especially with resource materials nowadays and how you can cut back on that carbon footprint and things like that. So we're definitely innovative in those rights. And then I tell him all the time, it's probably where me and him butt heads the most, but I'm like, you can make it functional all day, but if you ain't making it pretty, we're not going to buy it. It's got to be pretty too. So, I guess it's the perfect marriage of an engineering mind versus a creative mind is that we get to meet in the middle and make things really cool.
Well, when we last talked, it was in conjunction with the kitchen and bath industry show, and Bellwith Keeler had this fabulous booth that was set up to look more like a jewelry store. What was the thinking behind that?
We're the jewelry for your kitchen and bath and get case goods. We've always had a history in the furniture industry. And there's a saying in the furniture industry, with OEM parts that a box is a box is a box until you dress it. And the hardware is the dressing. You can take a box and change the complete way it looks by how you adorn it. So I really wanted to go for the tactile jewelry feel. When you go into a jewelry store and things are in a glass case, your first response is to ooh and ah, but it's tactile. You put the necklace on, you put the watch on, you try the ring on. There are things that you want to touch and feel and see up close. And hardware that's mounted on a board on a wall, it loses that kind of appeal, in my opinion. So I try to focus on, we make jewelry for your cabinets. So let's, showcase it that way. And it's crazy because I've been doing this for quite a few years. And now people approach us at shows and they're like, oh, you're the one that looks like the jewelry store. So it's kind of kind of started following us around, which is pretty cool. So
Gives you a reputation.
it
Now, you've
does.
told me
Absolutely.
that hardware in some circles is taking on a new role in the design process for things like kitchens, in which people are actually choosing the hardware first and then designing the kitchen second. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I will say if you think about the fashion industry, um, accessories used to be an afterthought in fashion. Then a lot of companies have stepped their game up. And so belts, um, uh, hair, adornments and things like that have become more, Fendi has designed more, decorative accessories that people tend to now kind of work backwards. So I've got this great Valentino belt. Now I want this outfit that kind of showcases my belt. I found that the fashion industry is always ahead of us, but there are things we can learn from it. And so I started seeing hardware being intentional, as well as like lighting choices. So if you're looking at your metals, you started to be more intentional with how did you want to showcase that in your kitchen and bath? Like how did you want to pick your paint based on, hey, I want to go with champagne bronze versus matte black or satin nickel. So people started making more intentional choices with how they were designing their kitchens and baths, and it started more with the accessories. And I think again that's something we learned from the fashion industry, and saying, hey, look, handbags. Now people buy handbags and go, I want an outfit that showcases my handbag. So
The
it's
tail wagging
kind
the
of the same
dog.
thought. I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I'm the belt queen. So I love my belts, and I kind of go, hey, what can I get that looks great with that belt? And I'm thinking that's so backwards, but it works for me. So
Well, we know one of our other publications in the Woodworking Network is Closets and Organized Storage, and they do a lot of features on these, huge, popular, trendy closets that are being done, and the thought there is to make the closet more like a boutique than a storage room for things, and so that the person going into the closet, man or woman, is going in and choosing their clothes as if they were shopping in a boutique
absolutely.
store.
Absolutely. I've had a few conversations this past week, especially, on the heels of the Barbie movie launching. All of us girls, mostly, my age probably, we grew up with the thing that you always wanted was the Barbie dream house. And the Barbie dream house was the showcase for your Barbie. And she had a vanity dressing chest and that closet, and the way, like, that was what little girls were we emulated as we grew up, is I want that kind of presence in my home. And I definitely see that in these closets because I've probably done more master closets this year, with some of my clients doing, hey, this is my closet and it's very blank canvas, and we are putting some super decorative, cool hardware in there. And I love that because again, they're making it a showplace versus, this is my closet and it's offset. I don't want people to see it. Now it's come look at my dressing room. Come look at my area. And I think that the verbiage has even changed to this is my dressing room. So
Well,
it's
it's even become an entertainment area in the home, where, come in, have a glass of wine, and let's talk about clothes or whatever.
absolutely. They want their shoes showcased, the handbags. It's things again, like as for me especially, it was, you know, a dream. It was the Barbie dream house, and now I can have my own, Barbie dream closet. So
I also know you've been involved in a partnership with major appliance manufacturer to coordinate Bellwith Keeler hardware with the appliance pulls, such as for oven doors and the like. Can you talk about that?
absolutely. So Keeler Brass Company was the company that we were founded on. It was what we originally started in 1893. We've kept the entity around, but it was dormant for many years in that we didn't have a place in the showroom market. We just kept the name alive. I used the name in the custom and the OEM sector that I worked with at Bellwith Keeler. Um, Richard Anaskevich and I did Design Chicago. I want to say it was 2016 or 2017. And that was the first time we met, and we just became fast friends. And then we joked around at Design Chicago and said, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do some hardware together?" Fast forward, uh, he became the creative director for Monogram Appliances, and my position at Bell with Keeler moved up. When we were approached by him, it was to make the his designer collection decorative hardware appliance part pools for him as an aftermarket part, but as an OEM. And after some conversations, we decided it was the perfect vehicle to bring back Keeler Brass. Richard is, of course, a moniker in the luxury design world, and it was the right place to have Keeler Brass. It's a little bit of an elevated brand from Bell with Keeler. It's solid brass, American made, really plays into our heritage of who we are. And it was the perfect partnership. So we, as hardware makers, had to take his vision, make it manufacturable, and bring it to life. So it took us about, excuse me, took us about 2 years of iterations and new design processes, new tools had to be made. We were making something that never had been done before, to have aftermarket parts for your appliances. So it's been a really cool process. The partnership has been fantastic. We've got a whole launch series planned with them this year. We've done HD Expo with them, and ICFF we did with them. And then we're doing some more partnerships for the rest of the year with them as a co-branded opportunity. And it's also the first time, if you think about co-branding, it was the first time where two people playing in the same sandbox decided to co-brand. So a lot of times it's like companies will make a product for someone, but it's as a private label kind of OEM part. This was an opportunity we decided together to co-brand, and it was Monogram and the designer collection by Monogram for Richard Anaskevich by Keeler Brass Company. So for us, it was a launch vessel to get that brand back out. And I've been here 9 years, and it was literally on my business plan every year. I was like, bring back Keeler Brass, bring back Keeler Brass, year after year after year. So for me, it was a long time coming to get that brand back out. We were able to launch a product series called Anthology, which marries well with Richard's product with Monogram. For a company to have an existing partnership that helps you launch a new collection, it just doesn't, stars don't align like that a lot. So we had to take that opportunity. The cool thing with Anthology, again, American made, brass product. It's made to order, but it's a configurable product. So if you think about, again, the furniture industry and a lot of other industries do configurable products. So it's pick your box, pick your treatment, pick your hardware, pick your metal finish, wood finish. We decided to bring that concept to brass. So you pick your post, you pick your bar. Do you want a treatment to it? What's the finish? Do you want dual finishes? It's very configurable, which is our innovation. So we took a product that took multiple parts, but within those multiple parts and sizes and finishes, you've got 34,000 possibilities.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And you made it, and you put it in this great leather presentation thing too, which I loved. I could see, the kitchen designers opening up that big leather wallet and showing off all the options.
That was our innovation as well. What we did was we took the digital experience, we made what's called the configurator. Mm-hmm. So on our Keeler Brass website, you can actually digitally configure your product. But I was the first one that kept saying, you will never get away from samples in tactile. Designers are tactile. I mean, I have leather samples, at my desk. I have pieces and parts that I'm working with. We'll never get away from tactile. So we had to come up with a solution that had never been done before. So I sketched it out in my little notebook and handed it off to my design team, and we come up with the designer's toolkit, and it's absolutely been received. We didn't expect it to be. We thought that it would be a couple of places would want to have the toolkit. We're back ordered on the toolkit until 2024. Wow. So everyone wants that because they, the feedback I got from the design community was as soon as you lay that out to your client, they know that your company is legitimate and they know that they can trust the hardware selection. So it was an ease of a mind for the design community to give them a tool that allowed them to make it an easier selection.
That's great. Now, while we're talking here about an emphasis on hardware, I have to note that in some circles there is sort of a competing trend going on. Lots of the European inspired kitchens are going for the no visible hardware look and eliminating exterior pulls and knobs entirely for a clean look. What do you think about that?
I think, I mean, personally, I like the look. I think it's great. But I think it's just not for everyone. And we're still going to play on the more traditional design, community that wants the adornments. They want the pulls and the functionality. I also think it's not a proven thing. Like how if you've got a flat front, you can't change the hardware. How much renovation and change can you can do to that particular look
Yeah, you're
over
stuck
time?
with one look all
It's
through.
kind of
Yeah.
what you're stuck with hardware. You paint your cabinet, you slap something new on there, and it's like, oh, it's a completely new look. So we're gonna stay in our wheelhouse. I will say that uh, I think there's going to be levels up from that. The no hardware. People are going to look at, I want some kind of metal adornment. So I think you're going to see some cabinet companies using metal casings and things like that to accent them, again, to try to get a new look out of something that's kind of there and stale.
Yeah, I've
So
seen
I may be
some
playing
hidden
around with
poles that are like a little metal edge that
that little metal edge.
just peeks out and
Yeah.
provides a little glint, you know.
Yeah. So Keeler Brass might be playing around with that a little bit for next year's launch. So
No.
it's
Well,
it's good to be able to have the innovation team behind me and say, hey, this is a thought, what do you think about that? And I give them the idea kind of seed, and I see where they go with it, and then we collaborate and come up with really cool stuff. So
I kind of want to talk a little bit more about that. Can you describe your process when you think about developing a new line of hardware? What makes for successful cabinet hardware?
so I think there's a combination of creativity, analysis, and market need. It's always been an industry, any industry I think that you're in tends to go, oh, this is a great collection, it sells well, so let's make another one. You cannibalize your own line. So I'm really cognizant not to cannibalize things that we have great success at, and look for things in the marketplace that can turn it on its ear a little bit. With Bell with Keeler, we did the Pebble collection this year, which was this great tactile kind of stone feel. It's got the shape, organic shape, but in metal and high polished. It looked really contemporary, and we did a tumbled finish on it, so it gave it this really organic, rocky kind of feel to it. So I think that you know I get creative kind of sparks from anywhere, everywhere. Architecture, nature, fashion is usually where I get my inspiration from. And I legitimately have a notebook that has notes and drawings and things like that. And I pass it off to my director of design innovation, which is David Warmenhoven. And he has a completely different thought process. He's an artist as well, but his is, it's almost like we're completely two different creatives. And he comes from an innovation standpoint. So it's great to see like where I'll start with something and where he'll take it, and then where we kind of meet in the middle. It's been quite like a fantastic pairing between he and I. We don't overstep each other as far as there's no ego involved. There's no, hey, this is what we're going to do. Everything at our company is so collaborative. I love that. Anybody can come with a great idea, and some people can go, oh, well, I'm going to bury that because my ego's involved. But for us, we always just go, holy cow, like what can we do with that? That's great, and we just start expanding on different things we may land on this, we may land on that, but it's always like an open door kind of, let's all talk about it and see what we need. And we pair that with great analysis. We do market analysis. We analyze our own, product to death. So that, like I said, we don't hurt ourselves to try to create something we think is just going to sell in the marketplace.
Yeah,
I think
how
there's
much of a role do trends and colors and finishes play in the development of new hardware?
Absolutely a lot. A lot of what I'm going to be working on next year is a lot of finish ads, basically. I think that finishes have been the same for like 6 years. You got black, you got gold, you got silver. And it seems that everything falls into those wheelhouses. So I'm going to play a little bit outside of that box, and take some designs that I think we already have that missed the mark with the right finish, and see what we can do when we put the right finish on something. I think
That
it's
sounds
huge.
interesting. Can't
Yeah.
wait to see them.
Yeah.
How can a kitchen designer or custom cabinet shop help their customers sort through all of this to select quality hardware for their projects?
I think the designer that owns the process is going, if you control the process, you're going to have a much better, chance. We have a portal that tells you availability, and you can do product selections. You can put things into, like, this is for this client, and you can keep your kind of stuff organized and set. It's a great tool, but I've been an interior designer since my mid-20s, and I always led the project. The client can tell me what they want and their ideas, but the second I lose control of the project, then it's a free for all, and you're getting 40 handles that they want to put on their cabinets.
Right.
So like I said, I approach it with, here's what you have. Here's my 3 to 5 best options that work with your palette. That's been successful with me. The designers that I work with across the country now, they will send me, they're like, here's my project, I'm stumped. Like, what have you got? And I do the same thing. I'm like, here's the 3 or 2 that I think are the best options for what you're trying to achieve. And I just control the narrative, and it makes the client a lot, they don't have to worry about those little minute details, and they know that the picture is coming together the way they wanted.
Yeah, too many choices is a dangerous thing.
It's horrible. It's like you say, if I walk into a clothing store and my head starts going, ooh, I try to go in with a preconceived notion of what I'm looking for. So
there you go. There you go. Well, it's been great talking to you again, and I look forward to seeing the new stuff next winter at KBIS. And I really appreciate your insights into this, because I think so many folks, the hardware is sort of an afterthought, and
yeah.
Maybe they should be thinking differently.
I think so, especially like I said, the way that we like to put our product in the marketplace is a jewelry, and it's intentional. So absolutely, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and I'm sure I'll have some goodies to show you next winter. So
sounds great. Thanks a lot, Knikki.
Thank you.
That's it for today. If you're looking for more of our podcasts, you can find all of them at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcasts and in popular podcast channels. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks again to today's sponsor, the Executive Briefing Conference. If you have a comment or topic you'd like us to explore, contact me at will.sampson@woodworkingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening.